As promised, joining me now is Dahlia Lithwick. She's a senior editor at Slate, host of the Amicus podcast, and an MSNBC law and politics analyst. Now the author of this brand new and remarkably important book, Lady Justice. Lady Justice, Women Battle to Save America. Dahlia, thank you for being with us. You know, that Women's March that we referred to, on that day, it's sort of hard to imagine what a march like that does. What's the point of it? The election was lost to a lot of the people who were in that march. What was the point they were trying to make? What's the value of that sort of protest? And what's the lasting effect of coming out here and saying, my fight for democracy goes beyond an election?
I mean, a big part of it is just to be visible. To say, I may be invisible to this administration, this Justice Department. You know, at this moment, I may be invisible to the U.S. Supreme Court, but here I am, reckon with me. That's not nothing. And it's creating a record that says I object, and that's not nothing. And I think it's a gateway to power. I mean, everything you said about democracy reform, I think you have to be in the midst of a huge gathering that is palpable and physical and tangible to say, if the court can take away my rights, if a gerrymandered red state can take away my rights, if the president of the United States can talk about me like I'm an object, I have to figure out what the levers of power are to change that.
So let's talk about levers of power, because we talk a lot about democracy, and there are some very smart people who say to me, democracy is not the whole thing here. There's something else. The levers of power in this country are systemically broken. And it's not just going out, registering to vote and voting that will fix that. You've thought this through a little bit.
I mean, first of all, I might slightly object to systemically broken. I think a lot of the levers of power are working exactly as they are meant to, right? The Electoral College, a malapportioned Senate, the Supreme Court that answers to no one that can take away your vote. So in some sense, really, the levers of power are working precisely as the framers.
I get it. You're saying it's not broken.
It's not broken.
It's just not working for you.
It's advantaging white, wealthy men, and that is how it was designed. So I think one of the things that I am trying to do with the book is enter a conversation in which we say, if you have outcomes where 70% of the population and more say we don't want more guns, and we don't want the EPA to be hobbled, and we don't want women to lose their autonomy and their dignity because Sam Alito says at the founding the word abortion wasn't in the Constitution. What's broken? What is it that is blocking us, and how do we fix that? And so the last 3 chapters of this book are about gerrymandering and malapportionment and thinking not just about winning lawsuits, which is huge, and the book is about lawsuits, but it's also about exactly what you're saying. The systems fixes that mean that going forward, we never again get in a situation where women have to bleed out on a table before they can get emergency medical care.
Okay, so then for those who say, look, I don't know how much I can do about democracy. I can definitely register to vote, and I can vote. You're arguing that it's much, much more than that to fix where we are in society. What does that mean to the reader, to the viewer right now? What's the more than that look like?
The more than that is thinking about what your state is doing about gerrymandering, thinking about what your state is doing about these independent state legislature theories that are bubbling up, right? If the Supreme Court does what I fear it will do, state legislatures going into the next elections will be able to completely subvert their own government. They will be able to subvert their own courts. That's right. That's the 2020 coup, but done by black robes. And it's terrifying. And so I think partly it's paying attention. Who is on your state Supreme Court? Who is your state Attorney General, right? All of those issues that allowed us to wake up at the end of June and say, how did we lose power completely? And these are all fixable. I think the central thing is that there are good people working on fixing the Electoral Count Act. There are good people working on gerrymandering.
Good people actually across the political spectrum. There are people across the political spectrum who understand what you have said, that this is fundamentally broken and needs to be fixed.
I think that's right. And I think we don't have to reinvent the wheel. What we have to say is that to be enthralled to a document that's 200 years old in a court that interprets it as though it is more real and vital than the women around it.
Right, that's fundamentalism. When it happens in other places of the world, we call it fundamentalism. In your book, you talk about a date, March 2nd, 2016. It was the day of oral arguments for a lesser-known abortion case called Whole Women's Health versus Hellerstedt. And in your book, you write, quote, "It was the last truly great day for women and the legal system in America." I would not have known about that date.
It was, I was in the room. I was covering...
As you often are.
as I often was, and I was covering it. And we had 3 women justices. We had women arguing the case. At one point, Chief Justice John Roberts was kind of chided gently by Justice Ginsburg to give the woman advocate more time because she had not finished. Chief Justice Roberts said, okay, and let her go. And to me, having watched the court go through a phase of, 2 women justices and then 1 for a long time, suddenly to see these 3 just incredibly powerful women, powerful advocates. Justice Breyer, another feminist on the court, wrote a stunning, stunning opinion in that case, giving women all the reproductive freedom they sought and more. And so for me, it felt like we were so close to the promise of dignity and equality. And then within a few months, Donald Trump is the candidate, then he is the president, and it's all gone.
Dahlia, thank you for all the work you do. Thank you for being in those rooms and talking about it in a way that makes it accessible to so many of us who don't understand the concepts behind it. Thank you for this remarkable book, and thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Dahlia Lithwick is a senior editor for Slate. She's an MSNBC law and politics analyst. She's the author of the new book, Lady Justice: Women, the Law, and the Battle to Save America.